Welcome to the Connect2Metrics podcast. My name is Will Gladhart. I'm the president of market development at Connect2Metrics. We're a premier outfitter of growth and performance and analytics solutions. I'm here today with my guest, Kyle Danner. Kyle has been a part of every aspect of family businesses. He grew up and worked in a family business and own a business with his family. He also knows what it's like to leave the business and start a fresh chapter in life. He understands families and owners want to position their businesses for the future. That's why he started Solutions for Family Business. When everyone isn't on the same page, it's easy to feel like you don't have a grip on family business. As a professional EOS implementer, Kyle can help clarify, simplify, and achieve your vision to get more out of your family business. And you can find Kyle online at kyledanner.com or on LinkedIn. So good morning, Kyle, and welcome.
Thanks, Will. How are you this morning?
I'm very well, thanks. Just enjoying the spring and the sunshine for a change. Excellent. So our topic today, Kyle, is family business challenges. How to improve culture and engagement. And the reason that we're here today is to discuss the challenges family businesses are facing, the impact of company culture in the present new normal, and share tactics Kyle has learned as ways to lead during transition. In our final session today, Kyle and I will discuss our last set of questions regarding the cultural challenges facing family businesses and leadership tips he has to share. So, Kyle, how do you manage the divided loyalties between family and long-term employees?
Let's define long-term employees in the first place, so that kind of gives us some context. And so you think about a family business. Long-term employees are typically they've been with the business 10 plus years. They were often there when the business started or shortly after it was started. And the owner and the family really appreciates their loyalty. So you have to think about not only they've been with the company long term, but they've grown up with the family. The kids know each other. Everybody has shared in their life events. So it's very much this very familial feeling there. And what ends up happening is that owners can end up being pulled between their long-term employees who have been with them through the thick and thin and their family members who maybe just recently joined the business. And so it's kind of also an extended version of who does mom and dad love more? And added with it is that the long-term employee doesn't see the son or daughter as head of sales. They still see him as little Johnny or little Susie, or maybe even more in a negative light, the boss's son or daddy's little girl, even though they're 30 years old or 40 years old. And on the other hand, is that legacy employees, these long-term employees, they may be slow to change. So you've got the younger generation coming in, agitating and pushing for change to adjust to a changing environment, and the long-term employees may be pushing against it. So I think it's always important when managing those divided loyalties is, first of all, you have to clearly communicate if the son or daughter is going to take over the business. Absolutely be very clear what their role and what their purpose is going to be. You also have to be honest to acknowledge this is a change, but reinforce the commitment to the long-term employees. Reinforce that commitment that's always been there. I think for everybody, there's need to invest in personal and professional development, not only for the generation coming in, but also for the long-term employees. Involve the long-term employees in training the staff, and sometimes it might make sense to have the next generation report to the long-term employees to kind of separate that family piece of it, provided there's an understanding that, the long-term employee, they're seen as the expert. They're the one, the owner has to back up the long-term employee. They can't cut them or go around their back if the son or daughter isn't performing as expected. And I think the biggest thing is be prepared resistance to the change, both for the next generation coming in as well as for the long-term employees.
Yeah, so I think it's fascinating you mentioned, the change, kind of change management, different generational pieces. Have you found any solutions that are good for kind of aligning the culture across the company?
I think what's fascinating is a lot of times when I start working with a family business, they don't really stop and think about their culture in some type of an objective way. And I'm sure you probably have found this in your own work. And what you do is that we just kind of just work as hard as we can to get the work out the door, take care of our customers, pay our bills. That this whole notion of culture, everyone thinks it's, the classic thing is everybody thinks it's a ping pong table, and that's not it at all.
Right.
So when I help them implement the entrepreneurial operating system, in the second session day, we start talking about values, but not values from the marketing sense, but values from how do we, what are the qualities, what are the characteristics for you to be a good team member? Because they already have good team members. They already display those qualities. We just go about discovering them and kind of bringing them out into the open. And then we can start having a really good discussion about what exactly does culture look like in a very concrete sense.
Yeah, no, that's very true. As you know, our company and Connect2Metrics, we spend a lot of time researching, but also discovering the solutions of how you tie that culture, performance, leadership, behavior pieces all together, and do it in a seamless digital fashion, but also giving people a roadmap for next steps and strategic implementation. So that actually, beyond just the culture piece, that kind of leads me to our next question, which is why is succession planning so important today, especially when dealing with uncertainty, but also with juggling the challenges of culture in a business? So kind of a two-pronged question.
Yeah. Well, succession plan, I think there's this misunderstanding. They think there's this idea that succession planning is this event, that at some point, we're going to exit the business. Either sell it, pass it off to the kids, we're going to be whatever it is. Succession planning is nothing more than good business planning. It's making sure that you have good people in your organization, that you have your processes documented, that you're running a good, efficient organization so that it's transferable in the easiest way possible. That is, you can hand it off to another party. And right. Succession, so there's this whole confusion about succession planning being this, this one-time special thing. If you look at business, it's just business planning. That's all it is.
Right. And, interestingly, several months ago, I sat in on a session called Planning Your Business from the Exit. Planning the start of the business from the exit, which is something that you've kind of alluded to, is that it's an entire process, and it's not one day you wake up and you're going to decide, well, I'm stopping, or right. I'm getting out in 6 months. I mean, this is a 2, 3, 5, 10-year transitional plan that you have to be extremely aware of, but that also impacts the culture of how your employees view the business and how they view you as an owner or family member too, correct?
Yeah, very much so. And where I see, when it comes to succession planning, where I see the mistake that so many owners make is they think about what's my final number? What's my after-tax number? And that's what they focus on. That is not where you start when you talk about a succession plan. It really starts with the personal. What is it that I really want to do in the next chapter of my life? So you start with the personal. Then you think about, well, what is that going to cost me? What's the financial piece of that? All right. And then the third is the actual business. How is the business going to pay for that? Keep in mind that for a lot of baby boomer business owners, 70 to 90% of their wealth is tied up in the business. And when you think about in the last couple of weeks in the current time we're in, they have lost at least 30% to 50% or more value in their business as well as in their investment portfolio. And so now there is a huge gap between what do they want to do and how is the business going to pay for it? And so that whole succession planning piece or exit planning or transition planning, whatever you want to call it, there is a huge gap there. And so business owners have to be very thoughtful about how am I going to be able to build my business or rebuild the value in my business so that I can truly move on to the things that I want to do. And to be able to do that, Will, is you've got to have, first of all, you got to have the right people on your leadership team to help you do that.
Absolutely. Well, I think certainly it's a fascinating topic that definitely has gained some attention over the last number of years as we're seeing a greater transfer of wealth from the baby boomer generation. I think it's a topic that will continue to be priority.
Oh yeah.
And just a quick thought, kind of as a final thought today, beyond our kind of sharing some of the tips. I'm curious what your thoughts are. Is it easier if you already have a plan in place versus you're kind of doing your day-to-day operations and not really thinking about the future, to make a pivot and a transition in this time of rapid change versus where you're just scrambling? So
I think that's a question for another three more podcasts. But but I think it's maybe instead of thinking about, when we say plan, I think people get overwhelmed because they think, pages and pages and pages of a planning document and all that nonsense. I think it's really thinking about the vision for your business. Why did you start your vision in the first place? And what is it that you do better than anybody else? And spending some time with your leadership team and your family, really thinking about that, and then stepping back and answering the questions: what do we need to do this week? What do we need to do the next 90 days? What do we need to do the next year? And so on, to realize that vision. I think when you start throwing out the word plan to an entrepreneur, to a family business owner, you lose them. Their eyes glaze over. And who wants to plan? Nobody wants to plan. Let's get our work done.
Right. And we all think of action plans as these big monumental documents, and sometimes it's just one thing. It's the one thing in your vision that you want to lead through with your business, and that's all it has to be.
Exactly. It does not have to be hard. It does not have to be hard and complicated and some beautifully eloquent, piece or vision statement or anything. This is what we do best, and this is who we do it for. It's that sort of thing. It's that simple.
Wow. Okay, that's really great advice. So last week, you shared, on your blog, 6 ways to lead the family business through anxious times. As kind of our final wrap up, share with me the final 2 tips that business owners could implement today.
I think one is to take care of yourself. Business owners by nature, and especially family business owners, are very much caretakers. They don't see their 50 employees. They see their 50 employees times however many family members their employees support. And so that they think about the number of mouths they have to feed. And so they take that responsibility deeply and personally. And they will end up sacrificing some of their own health and well-being in the process. And so I always tell them, take care of yourself so you can take care of others there. And the other thing I really stress with folks is to build structure. It's to build the accountability chart, get clear on what your values and your vision are, answering the questions: what do I have to do this week, the next 90 days. The process I use is the Entrepreneurial Operating System, EOS. It is a very simple, easy to understand process for entrepreneurs and family businesses to follow. The nice thing about it, Will, is that while that is how I make my money, people don't need me to implement it. The book Traction, Get a Grip on Your Business by Gino Wickman, it details the process, and I'm always happy to answer questions from folks about EOS and help them along the way, whether they do business with me or not.
Excellent. Well, as with closing out all the podcasts, we'll be including Kyle's information, as well as how to get a hold of him if you have questions, or if you're in need of just some repositioning of your family business in these times of change and the new normal. So thanks so much, Kyle, for your time, and I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a fantastic day.
Great. Thanks, Will. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. Awesome.